So open Adobe Animate, which can be found if we click on our start menu here, and you can type in Animate. You'll see it come up, Adobe Animate 2023. Open that one. So we can just click skip on this tutorial pop-up, and then we should see this page here, and we can just select Full HD. Once it's open, this is what you'll see. This here is called your scene. So if you look in the top left here, you'll see it says scene 1. If we'd like to zoom in or out, you can use this in the top right. So I like to click show all so that you can see the whole thing. And then down the bottom here, this is our timeline, and you can see there are layers here as well. If you haven't used layers before, that will be explained here. A lot of you have, but the first thing we want to do is double click on layer 1 and rename this as stencil. So making sure we have our first frame of our stencil layer selected, we now need to go to Compass, and there is a link there to download the poses to trace. Once you click that link, it will download instantly, and then you just click back on your Animate, go to File, Import, Import to Stage, and then in your Downloads folder, you'll find that walk cycle 12 frames.gif. Open that, and that will appear. Now, we need to right-click on our stencil layer and make sure in visibility we set it to opacity 50%. You can see if I don't have it like that, it just comes up solid. When I change it to 50%, it makes it lighter. That's just so that we know what we're tracing and what's on the original image. Once we've done that, select up here your free transform tool, and that will bring up our little boxes in the corners and on the edges. We're then going to hold shift on our keyboard and stretch that out from the corner. And we're just going to do that so that our figures are a decent size. I'm not going to make it all the way to the top, but about that is fine. I'm then going to move it across so that the first one is roughly in the center. Once I've done that, I'm actually going to lock this layer here by using that little padlock symbol, and then I'm going to click on my walking layer. And then I'm going to come over to the left and click on this brush tool here. And you can see over on the right, you can control the size, which is like the thickness of your brush. Then using the tablet, I'm going to trace over this first figure. So I'm just going to fast forward through that. So that's my first one traced. Don't stress if it is not perfect. It's just about getting the idea of how to animate the walking cycle. So once my first one is done, I'm then going to right click over here, and I'm going to click Insert Blank Keyframe. Then on my stencil layer, I'm going to unlock it, and I'm going to right click and click Insert Keyframe. So blank for the walking one and just normal keyframe for the stencil. I'm then going to turn on my onion skins over here, and you'll see this little bar appear at the top with the blue and the green, or it might have different colors. And what that shows you is that if I'm selected on this frame, I will see like a blue outline of one frame behind and a green outline of one frame ahead, but I don't have any ahead. So I'm only going to see that blue one. If I click it on and off, you can see what it does. So from here, making sure I'm on my stencil layer, I'm just going to click on this selection tool up here, and then I'm going to hold shift and drag this across so that my second pose is lined up with that first drawing that I've done. I'm then going to lock my layer again. I'm going to turn onion skins off so I can see this more clearly. Then click back on my walking layer, click back on my brush, and I'm going to trace this one. So I'll just fast forward while I trace that one. Once again, not a perfect trace, but that's okay because this is just about learning the skills of how to illustrate a walking character. So then we're going to right click on our stencil layer. Again, we're going to go insert keyframe. I'm going to unlock that. And then on our walking layer, insert blank keyframe. I'm going to pop on my onion skins. And once again, click on my selection tool, back down on my stencil frame because I need to drag this across holding shift and line the next one up. So I'm just going to continue repeating this process. I'll fast forward through and trace all of my 12 poses. So once we've finished drawing our 9 figures, we are ready to preview this animation. So firstly, you can hide your stencil layer by clicking on this symbol here next to the padlock, which is normally the eyeball. Just showed that little transparent symbol when it was on. And then this button here is the loop button. So we're going to click that. When we first click it, it may only have this blue bar across a portion of the animation, like a few frames. We need to make sure that is stretched out over all of our frames. And we can then click play. So that will show you a preview of your walking animation. You're probably thinking that's pretty fast. And whilst we could change the frame rate over here, what I would like you to do is actually insert what we call frames in between each of these keyframes. The reason we do this instead of changing the frame rate is, sorry, I did the wrong one there. It allows us to have more control if we want to add more details into an animation later. So keeping that frame rate at 30 and inserting frames in between is better practice. So once I've popped them all in, I'm going to stretch my loop bar across all of the frames and then I'm going to hit play. And there we have it. You can see a little walking animation. So the final step is to actually publish your animation, and we're going to do this as an animated GIF. So firstly, can you save a copy of it by going File, Save As, you can just call it number 2. And with that copy, we are going to right click the stencil layer and delete that, leaving just our walking layer. Then we are going to go File, Publish Settings, and we're going to untick this flash one and we're going to tick the GIF image. And when you click on that, you can click this folder, make sure you put it in your Z drive. I'm just saving mine to desktop for now. And then tick Match Movie, make sure it's set to animated and loop continuously and smooth. And then you can click Publish. Once that is published, you'll see when you open your folder, you can open it up and there is your animation. And that is the file you can upload to Compass.